Hi dear friends, click on the like button and the subscribe button, hit the bell icon and don't forget to follow me on Instagram.
Hi guys and welcome to another vlog. I am driving the Tata Indica, the first generation model. This is from 2007 and as you can see, the design is still similar to what is being sold till date. Obviously you don't see much of Tata ads nowadays of the Indica because that's largely as they are focused on newer generation of the cars, but this one, well, it is old and obviously taken a lot of beating as such, but the design has remained more or less the same all throughout. So 2008 is when the second generation of the Indica came, which was known as V3, and that is the Vista. You can see the design language. This long vertical tail light, it looks kind of nice, and let me quickly get into the boot and show you. So the boot is also big enough, but there's a lot of stuff inside right now, and yeah, it feels a little bit heavy. That's a good thing. You can see the design of the car, and I know most of you want me to give it the beans, so I'm just going to do that. Let me quickly show you the car once again from the side. So wheelbase is kind of long, wheels are very small, and let's quickly get into the rear seat. So 98 is when they showcased it, and within 1 week of the unveil they had got 1 lakh orders. No, they had got 1.15 lakh orders. That's insane. So there's good amount of rear seat space actually for a hatchback. The seat has been pushed quite back, so right now you might not see much legroom and kneeroom, but it's decent. Seats are also decently comfortable. Headroom is there, my hair is not touching, and integrated headrest here at the rear. No center headrest, but split folding seats, and 3 people can actually sit inside because the cabin is wide. Even the dashboard you can see is wide and big and nice. So the car is kind of spacious, but the rear doors don't get door pockets. The front ones get it, and let me quickly open the engine and show you. But I'll tell you what happened. 30th December 1998 is when it was first showcased. It was an instant hit. It was the first car made by an Indian manufacturer, which was indigenously developed. Yes, indigenously developed first car, the Indica, and obviously many people loved the fact that it offered, as Tata used to call it, more car per car. But right now the hood is not opening. There's some issue with that. Let me not tread into uncharted waters trying to open the hood, which just might not open. So it's moving but it's not opening, so there's some issue over there. So let's quickly get driving, and that's when we will talk more about this vehicle. Now I'm going to turn on the car, but there's a process which needs to be followed. Now in ignition there's this light which comes up, which ironically isn't coming up now, and the car is on. So the Indica has a huge history, and it's been on sale for 20 years now. Tata obviously doesn't talk about it anymore because they just don't want to promote the Indica. They want to get away from the whole Indica era, but it's the Indica which has made Tata Motors what it is today. It was their first passenger car. In fact, that time it was Telco, then they changed it to Tata Motors, and the engine was derived from a light pickup truck to the 1.4 liter engine, which has been the mainstay for most of the Indica's life. And when the second generation came, the Vista, people didn't accept it much. I didn't like the fact that it had instrument cluster in the center. Let me turn off the air conditioning, and trying to give it the beans, which it's not made for. The motor does sound coarse, obviously, but Tata was so smart. It used to offer various engine variants. So I think the base variant did not have a turbo. It was naturally aspirated. Top of the line had a turbo. So 1.4 liter engine throughout. There were just too many engines for me to actually remember how much power and torque it produced. But this one, I think it produces 60 horsepower. Then there was something called as the TCIC, turbocharged intercooled. That used to produce, I think, 70 horsepower. There was something called CR4. So you can see the Indigo CS, which got spawned from the Indica. So the sedan version of the Indica was the Indigo CS. Now this particular car has done 262,000 kilometers. Yeah, that's right, 262,000 kilometers, and still it is driving quite impressively. So kudos to the person who's maintained it quite well. Obviously, being a Tata car, it hasn't stood the test of time because you can feel a lot of rattles and vibrations inside, and a lot of parts have gone for a toss. The steering has absolutely no feel and feedback. Look at the kind of play it has, and I don't understand what was Tata Motors thinking when they designed the steering wheel. Is this some Mercedes S-Class? Like 2-spoke steering wheel, there's such a gap over here and so huge, and you know, it gives you the feel of an ambassador. Yeah, when I should drive the ambassador, I should drive it like this, yeah, to act cool. Right now I cannot do it, but yeah, this steering is just humongous. In terms of features, there aren't much, but the Indica got electric power windows and air conditioning as standard on the top of the line variants when it was launched back in the day, and that time none of the cars had all these features. So that was something which was very impressive. And with time, Tata kept on refining the Indica. In fact, the original Indica had a ton of issues and people were very pissed about it. The fact that it did not deliver the claimed mileage, the fact it did not deliver the claimed horsepower. Tata realized that they had kind of messed up, so they took their engine, they reworked on the internals, and then they came out with the Indica V2, which was technically the first generation Indica, and that's the reason the second generation Indica, which is the Vista, was called as the Indica V3. And the third generation Indica, which is the Bolt, well, it's come and it's gone and nobody even realized that. Then the fourth generation version of the Indica, technically you can't say it as a fourth generation version, more of a predecessor, is the Tiago, and we all know what a fantastic car it is. So back to the Indica, I think around 60 horses, it's producing around 120 or 130 Newton meters of torque, and it's ironical how I am actually following another Indigo, the Indigo CS, which is the compact sedan. There was the Indigo XXL or something like that, which came with screens at the rear and it had ton of features as well. And then there was something called as the Indigo Marina. So Tata went bonkers, launching newer variants of the Indica, and over the past 20 years there have been so many variants, and every time the Indica has kept on improving. In fact, I have driven all the generations of the Indica. Unfortunately, I did not vlog on it, and the last one I drove, which is the latest one, which is being sold right now, it was very refined. Things had improved much in terms of quality, but still the dashboard remained the same. You can see this dashboard is kind of huge. This car is completely made by Tata Motors, so it was a big feat back in the day. Indigenously developed is the word, and that's what got Tata Motors going into the passenger car market. So here we are pulling the motor. There isn't much amount of pull. The power delivery is linear. It's kind of flat and it gets noisy as I give it the beans. Let me quickly take a U-turn over here. So the ride quality is phenomenal on the car. It absorbs almost everything in stride, in spite of the small 13-inch wheels. Yeah, it has 13-inch wheels. The gearbox, well, it vibrates, but yeah, it's able to get into gears without me having to push into it. So that's again a positive. The steering is power steering, I think, but it's not working right now because I'm putting a lot of effort to make a turn. And although I would say that it is light at lower speeds, it just doesn't offer any feel and feedback at higher speeds. So here we are ready to give it the beans. Let me get, okay, so it says check engine, which means that I need to give it more beans. Revving the motor. Oh, wheel spin on an Indica diesel. Redlining at 5000 RPM, now into second gear. And we are doing almost 60 kilometers per hour after all that effort. And now into third. Here we are. So the motor doesn't feel punchy at all, but there's good amount of power and torque for city duties. And let me just filter through like a bully from here, because the Indica just gives me that old school charm of driving a car which is having a ton of feel. This car has feel. That's ironic. It does have feel. It is not really fun to drive, I would say. I'm enjoying the noise. I'm enjoying the heritage, and because there's no left side mirror, I should have got my butler to tell me what exactly is on the left side, but let me just pray and stick a turn. Here we go. I'm actually seeing from this big fat mirror over here. So this is a big mirror. I can see a lot of things in this mirror. And okay, let's climb here. Do we have enough power to climb? Of course we do. Here we go. Yeah, baby. Let me give it the beans over here. Ground clearance is ample on this car, and somehow Tata did not really leverage the Indica brand in recent times. Obviously they wanted to move away from the whole Indica zone, so everything was Indica, Indigo, then I think Indy, MPV, I don't know, nothing of that sort came, but everything was on that particular line. And where this car really excelled was the fact that it offered so much more space compared to its rivals. It became the top seller in 2 years in the segment, and the biggest advantage of this car was the diesel engine. No other person offered a diesel engine. In 2007, Maruti came up with a small capacity diesel engine on a hatchback. Otherwise it was just the Indica, which had a dream run because there was no other diesel hatchback. It was so economical to run. In fact, at that time diesel used to cost around 35 bucks, 35 rupees for diesel, and this car used to return a mileage of almost 20 kilometers per liter. Brakes are a little soggy, not little very, but the clutch is light in spite of the age of the car. Lot of rattles. Steering is humongous. I feel like I'm driving a bus. Probably I can put that song in here of Sunny Deol. Downshift into second, pulling it nicely. And here we are, coming to a halt. Now let me quickly show you the instrument cluster of this car. Basic, very basic, and it has got 4 gauges. The one is for the speedometer, one is for the tachometer, one is for the fuel meter, one is for the temperature meter. The doors don't auto lock. There's no central locking in this particular car as well. And because the steering is so huge, there's this button on it which will help you twirl, but that also requires a lot of effort right now. And there's a digital dash over there which will tell you amount of kilometers, odometer, trip meters, and that's about it. So I actually had a long-term Indigo CR4 and I had driven it all over the place. Let me tell you one thing, the air conditioning doesn't work in the heat. It's very difficult to get the air conditioning to work, but that's fine. I used to drive it all over the place. I think I took it to multiple locations including highways, and it was fun. 140 kilometers per hour is what I used to top out at, and 0 to 100 kilometers per hour used to take around 21 seconds if I'm not mistaken. And right now in second gear, I'm pulling this motor hard and strong. It gets coarse, but the power delivery is flat throughout. It never is like, okay, there's a kick in the pants feeling and stuff like that, but it doesn't need it because this car was all about practicality. It was never meant to be a driver's car. It was never meant to be a car which would make you excited, which would make you smile, and Tata kind of nailed it with its positioning. The tagline of more car per car was just epic back in the days. In fact, I'll just show you how easy or difficult it is to, you know, take a turn in this car. So let me leverage this button here. Here we go. Oh my god, it's so much effort. And we kind of made it through. See, self-centering steering wheel. Wow, what a revolutionary feature. And as I give it the beans and more beans, I just realized that this engine is made to last. Although, okay, here we go. Nice horn, definitely aftermarket. Let's see, easy to remove it through gaps as well. Compact dimensions really help. The packaging on this car is just epic, just epic. By the way, there were petrol engines as well. So there was the 1.4 liter diesel, which has been throughout. So there were multiple versions of it, like I already told you. There was a 1.4 liter petrol as well. I think there was a 1.2 liter also, and there was something called the Indica Zeta. So they've always kept coming out with improvements, and this car has really improved from the first to the latest. If you drive it, you will feel that it's a completely different car in the same body shell, but somehow in the same generation, because they've really pulled it along. They should have actually discontinued the Indica when they brought in the Vista, and they should have discontinued the Vista when they got in the Bolt, but they actually did that. So 2014 it was the Vista, which was Tata bye-bye. In 2012 they got in the Bolt, and funnily enough, Tata Motors never ever discontinued the Indica. It's still on sale. Cab operators also don't buy it because now it's usually the Accent or the Grand i10, Toyota Etios Liva, which is running in the cab market. A lot of Accents, a lot of Desire Tour and stuff like that. Now I'm not getting confidence to turn left, but anyways, let's play the wiper right away and see how the water spray is. There is absolutely no water in the wiper right now. No, there is. It actually requires you to pull a button, not just pull it like that. And the spray is nice and thick. Here we are, all set to give it the beans. There's no place for beans, but I don't want to take this car on the highway and give it the beans because this engine is very old. The check engine light is on, and if I drive it really hard and fast, the only issue will happen is that something will get ruined. We all know reliability wasn't Tata's forte back in the day, and it's actually blowing hot air. So let's just turn this off for the moment. Tata came up with some really interesting figures for the Indica. So they gave it a new suspension. They call it dual path suspension and whatnot. So improvements have come and gone, but the Indica's heritage hasn't been leveraged that well. They should probably bring in the next generation Tiago as the Indica. So the Indica is one of the few cars where when you turn on air conditioning, you can realize that it's gone into eco mode, and that's what exactly has happened. I can feel that the power has reduced. Not dramatically, but yes, it's kind of cut down power because of the air conditioning, which is kind of a fine thing. But you know, Tata with the Vista, they did a lot of interesting bits. So they plonked in the same engine, the 1.4 engine, into the Vista, and then what they tried to do, let me turn on the AC first thing, and then they actually used Fiat's multi-jet engine. So they called it Quadrajet in the Indica Vista, and then they removed the Indica name from the Vista, and that 1.3 liter used to produce 75 horses, and they bought in a 90 PS version of it. They called it the Vista D90, and then they got an even more powerful version of the Indica Vista. I'm not sure of the name, I just put it here, some extreme something, which they actually called us to drive on the Budh International Circuit. I remember my teammate had gone to drive it on the track. It was his first experience. So let me tell you, one particular issue with the Indica platform is that it understeers a lot. When you try to corner hard, it will just understeer and understeer and understeer a bit more. But hey, it likes to be revved. Don't cross, I don't have brakes. Okay, praying again. Here we go. So you cannot pull the car into higher gears at lower speeds. It will just not pull. And it's not meant to either because it doesn't get a turbocharger. I mean, it did get a turbocharger. I'm not sure if this particular variant has it because there's no turbo which is kicking in. And here we go, beans. The design of the Indica was done by IDEA of Italy, and it was actually sold in the UK as well as the City Rover, and we all know what Top Gear did about that when James May had gone to drive it. So in India, people still accepted the Indica because of its pricing, because of the value it offered, because of the space, and most importantly, and the only major reason why it sold so much was the diesel engine. There were no other diesels at that point of time. If you had to buy a diesel car, you had to opt for something more expensive. You can see the steering is having absolutely no feel and feedback. So let me tell you a funny story. Initially, Tata Motors now used to call everyone on their test track to drive their cars. So I remember I've driven a lot of Vistas and Bolts over there, and that track has a circle. I've also driven a truck over there. So what used to happen is the track has a good, nice, high-speed straight, and then there's a circle which is kind of banked. वहाँ पे issue क्या होता था पता है? When you're giving the beans, it's all fine and all. Get on the brakes, nice turn, lot of understeer, and there's a big circle again, lot of understeer. So much understeer in this car. Body roll is not the best control, obviously, because this is a car which is not meant for cornering hard. It's meant for comfort every way. The suspension is also on the softer side, and the car actually weighs more than its rival. So at that time, it used to compete with the Zen, and then it started competing with the Swift as well as Maruti's own Wagon R, and then the Santro, and all these cars. This is the biggest problem. The effort it takes to turn is like massive. We have to go full. The power steering doesn't work. I'm sorry. Oh my god. The stocks have no feel. They feel very soggy. So guys, this is my review of the Tata Indica, and I'm stuck in traffic, but I don't mind it at all. What is this guy doing? What is the hurry, bro? I'm driving an Indica. I don't care a fluff if you come in my road, in my way, because I'm just going to give it the beans. Time to enter this mall. Parking किधर से? Parking में कैसे जाने का?
पार्किंग इधर से जाने का, पार्किंग इधर से आने का, घूम के
आने का ना. वहाँ पे ऑटो रिक्शा खड़े बोल रही पीछे से.
हाँ नहीं सवाल है.
It's ironical how when I'm driving a car, all I can see is another Indica. This is the place to get in through. I know many of you have been like, I'm not driving this car fast, but this car just doesn't like beans. The steering doesn't have any feel or feedback, and the engine has no pep at all. It's just enough to get from point A to point B cheaply because the running costs are lower at that time where there was no other diesel engine offering. And the most important thing is the space in this car, which made it tick. Pricing was around 4 lakh rupees, depending on the variant is to go higher, but never exceeded 5 lakhs as such. And that for a diesel car was something just unheard of back in the day. Now here we are. Let me give in as much enthusiastic cornering. My hand is on the handbrake, but that's of no use. No one's coming from that side. Here we are. Oh my goodness, where am I turning? Where am I going? Because of the lot of body roll in this vehicle. Anyways guys, bye bye.